tourists and residents alike. These shows were designed to exploit people with abnormalities or disabilities, like humans with extra limbs, or Siamese twins, giants,
Like,
dwarves,
bro,
and
being
people with
thick was
too
a
much hair were
disability.
popular
Now
attractions.
bitches trying to
Some would
get
even
thick.
tattoo their face to look like
That's
freaks on purpose,
crazy.
or add prostheses to look deformed. But Sarah was real. She was exotic. She was beautiful. She was forced to wear a tight costume, which practically showcased every feature of her body. Men drooled at the sight of her. Women watched in pure shock. They've never seen anything like her. Her big bum, black skin, and large thighs made Sarah the object of fascination. The colonial Europeans believed they were racially superior. So, a body like hers would defy their ideals, visions, and perceptions of beauty. This is why Sarah became an oddity for display. She was placed in a cage that was about 1.5 meters high.
That's
While
crazy,
Sarah was
dude.
working with Dunlop and Hedrick Cesar, the
That's
movement against
crazy.
slavery in Britain was gaining momentum. This drew a lot of attention to how Sarah was being treated. Dunlop and Hedrick Cesar were taken to court, but they didn't face any real punishment. That's
That's
because during the trial,
crazy.
they showed the judge the contract that Sarah allegedly signed. At the bottom of the contract, there was a statement that said that
My
she wasn't
favorite
being mistreated.
bisexuals.
This gave them power over Sarah. Still, her contract was changed, and she
Shout out,
became
my bro.
entitled
How
to
you
warmer
been?
clothing, better living conditions, and a larger share of the profits.
Bro,
This brings us
chat
where
be
the
real. We talking about nigga said my favorite bisexual streamer, right? Be real, chat. Is bisexual being like if you are bisexual as a man, are you gay? I feel like you can't be bisexual as a man. It's just like no, you just can't. I feel like it get to a like I don't know. It's just me. I feel like it's either you like dick or you like pussy. One of the two. The two can't coexist. I know you would crack. Bro, that's what I'm saying. This Henrik, this is the first female stripper. I was telling this the chat now. This is the first female stripper, and she's the first thick female, and she's from South Africa. Sarah Batman. Of course, I would crack.
part of today's video, and
Of
that is
course,
Sarah's later life. In September 1814, after spending 4 years in London, Sarah was taken to France. Here, she was
bro. Like,
enslaved.
imagine how thickness, like how valuable thickness is. They took her all over the world to show her to the world over her being thick. What an
When she
accomplishment.
arrived, Hendrik Cesar sold her to a man named Roe. Roe owned a menagerie. Menageries were a popular form of entertainment in the 1800s. They were a sort of cross between a zoo and a traveling fair. Roe believed Sarah would be a great object for display. See what I mean by
Object.
object? That's
Yeah.
right. They didn't even see her as a person. He paraded her across Paris and made a ton of money from the public's curiosity. He even locked
Bro,
her in a
that's
cage next
crazy.
to a
What the
young
fuck?
rhinoceros. He hired a trainer who would give her commands like they did with circus animals. He would tell her when to sit, stand, and dance. They wanted Sarah to act like the animals, to make sure she stayed popular. Sarah often had to wear nothing more than a simple tan loincloth. It would only cover her private parts, which were deemed culturally sacred. She was nicknamed Hottentot Venus. The people viewed Sarah's
Bro,
black body as
what?
something that could be exploited, violated, and subjugated to inhumane
Bro, like,
conditions.
okay, come here, get to a point, dog. Bro, why would they, why would they draw it like, you see? Bro, those niggas were overly racist back then. That's crazy. Oh, you
According to
get to
experts
a
from the
point.
University of South Africa, during this period, there is a world order that determines who fits where, and the colonial world is divided in two: those who are at the top and those at the bottom. In Sarah Bartman's case, her dark skin was not the only thing that labeled her as inferior. The colonizers also used the shape of her physical physique to portray her as a lesser being. First,
What?
she was treated as an object for examination. She was made fun of and violated. All the paintings and pamphlets they used to make her popular distorted Sarah's story and her features. Secondly, she was forced to work as a prostitute. Sarah became immensely popular in a short period of time.
What?
Eventually, she caught the attention of Georges Cuvier, a zoologist and naturalist. He was a leader of elite French science. He was called the founding father of paleontology. Basically, a
Yo,
rich
these niggas
man
was
with a
sick.
huge network.
Niggas wearing weaves. Bro, we can't say shit about women wearing weaves nowadays. Niggas started it. Everything bitches are doing these days that we all hate, Women started that shit.
Cuvier asked Rowe if he could take Sarah and study her
Typical
body.
day
He
in,
thought she would make a fine specimen.
bro.
Rowe immediately agreed,
That's
and
what
from
I'm
March
saying, dog.
1815, the woman was studied by French physiologists, zoologists,
Bro, that
and
was
anatomists.
1815. What the
Her
fuck?
body became the subject of scientific racism.
If you
Scientific
struggle with
racism.
focus, this sound might change everything.
What the fuck? I thought it ended at racism.
Cuvier and his colleagues were curious about whether Sarah had an elongated labia that earlier naturalists like Francois Levaillant claimed to have seen in Khoisan women at the Cape. In March 1815, she was examined at the Jardin du Roi. She was the subject of many different scientific paintings. Now, there are two versions of this story. The naturalists Etienne Geoffroy Saint-Hilaire and Frederic Cuvier said she willingly took her clothes off to be painted in the nude, but the other version says that is completely not true. According to Sarah's cultural norms of modesty, it is important for a woman to wear a small apron-like garment that would cover her genitals. Some reports indicate that Sarah adamantly refused to remove it, even when attending scientists offered her money. So, she was probably undressed by force. Cuvier
What the
concluded
fuck?
that Sarah was a link between people and animals. This idea was used to promote the false belief that Africans had unusually strong sexual desires and were deemed a lesser race. Records show
Bro,
that many
what
rich
the
people paid to
fuck?
have Sarah at their parties and private gatherings.
What
That's
the
because
actual
in Paris,
shit?
they didn't have to worry about
But
slavery
what
charges.
is
So, by the
more
time
gay?
she arrived in Paris,
Sucking
her
dick
life was
or
miserable.
taking dick?
She was treated like an animal. At one point, she wore
Bro, chat, this is a crazy question. Nigga said, what is more gay? Sucking dick or taking dick? Bro, we need to be in a museum thinking about that shit, dog. Chilling with scholars. What would. Nah, I feel like taking it in the ass is more gay, dog. Bro, but sucking it, dude, though. But if I take. I don't even know, dog. Like, what? You ruined. Like, this nigga. Oh my god, dog. Henrik, which one did you choose, Henrik? Because this is a hard one.
a collar around her neck.
This is
So
a
at the end
hard
of her
one.
life, she had no money. This was likely because of the economic downturn in France
Oh my
after Napoleon was defeated. So, not everyone could afford to pay to see her. To compensate for the losses, some speculate that Sarah was forced to work as a prostitute, but
my
these are just
G.
speculations, because there are some reports that she was seen at a brothel in Cours des Fontaines. So, what happened after Sarah died? Sarah Bartman passed away in 1816, at the age of 26. There's not enough
What?
evidence about the cause of death. Some suggest she died of pneumonia, syphilis, or smallpox. But what we do know is that even after she died, Cuvier took her body from the local police and dissected it. During the 18th and 19th centuries, the study of anatomy had a bad reputation. Rich scientists would often hire someone to steal bodies from graves to get enough cadavers for research. That's because during that period, knowledge about the human body in Europe was mostly based on manuscripts from medieval Italy and classical Greece. These manuscripts covered information about the dissection of animals or condemned criminals. But as science grew, it was obvious that experts needed more reliable evidence. By the 18th century, charitable hospitals were set up to care
That's
for the poor.
crazy.
These hospitals were often run by anatomy
Niggas took
schools,
dead.
where people trained to do surgery and dissect human bodies. Cuvier was a respected scientist who used his influence and network to gain access to Sarah's body. He created a plaster cast, preserved her brain and private parts in jars, and displayed them at the Museum of Man. She was kept on public display until 1974. The poor woman didn't even get a proper burial. Cuvier wrote in his monograph that his subject was a smart woman with an impressive memory, especially for faces. Other than her native tongue, she spoke a bit of French and English, and was fluent in Dutch. He said that her arms were slender and her back was graceful. She had pretty feet and charming hands. She also knew how to play the Jew's harp and dance, but he still interpreted her remains based on his theories on racial evolution. He noted that she had ape-like traits. He wrote that her small ears were quite like the ears of an orangutan. When she was alive, he wrote that she had the speed of a monkey. Cuvier was part of a movement of scientists who worked to create a hierarchy of races and place white men at the top.
I've never
In
seen a fast
1978,
thick woman.
Diana Ferris,
I'ma
a poet
ask.
from South Africa and a woman of Khoisan descent, wrote a
I would
poem called I've
rather,
Come to Take You Home.
would you
I've
rather
come
get
to take
10
you home.
what
Home.
insignificances
Remember the
is
fact.
a day?
The
Losing
lush
your
green
car keys,
grass beneath the big
losing your
oak
shoes
trees.
every
The
day,
air
keys to
is
your
cool
posy,
there. And the sun does not
okay?
burn.
In the
Losing your
1980s,
loved
the
one,
story of Sarah Bartman
robbery.
gained global
So
attention.
which one will I
The
choose?
paleontologist Stephen Jay Gould wrote about her in
Bro,
his
what the
book,
fuck are
The
these? This is
Mismeasure of
like
Men.
life or
He
death.
used his work to criticize racial
These are like life or death. Losing car keys and losing your shoes every day. Yeah, losing my shoes every day, dog. Losing my shoes every day. Fuck that. Yeah, I'd rather, cause I see a lot of shout out to the white folks, but here in Cape Town I see a lot of white folks walking barefoot. And when I ask one of them, they like now they wanna be one with nature. What? It's literally what they told me. Not gonna
science.
lie.
After the African National Congress, ANC, won the South African elections, President Nelson Mandela personally asked the French government to return Sarah Bartman's remains for proper burial. This task took 8 years, and the French needed to create a bill that would prevent other nations from making similar claims on treasures held by France.
Bro.
Then, on March 6th,
Bro, but
2002,
nowhere she look like this though. You see, these niggas are see, they overly racist. Overly racist. It get to a point.
Sarah Bartman was finally returned to South Africa and laid to rest. On August 9th, 2002, which is celebrated as Women's Day in South Africa, Sarah was buried at Hankie in the Eastern Cape Province. Sarah Bartman wasn't the only Khoikhoi who was taken from her homeland, but her story is the only one that left a mark on history. It highlights social and political tension. Dr. Yvette Abrahams, a professor at the University of the Western Cape, pointed out that we don't have academic studies that see Sarah Bartman as anything other than a symbol. This is why she has been remembered through the years. Bartman is a symbol of African discrimination. She is one of the many Khoikhois who suffered in the Western world.
Bro, that's
Yes,
crazy. That like, bro, she the first female like to do everything on this planet. Like now, all these hoes, they jobs is to be strippers and shit. A lot of them, bro, she was doing this before and they forced her to do it. It's not like she wanted to do this shit. Come on, chat. Let's be real with ourselves.